If it wasn't apparent after last week's amazing episode, episode 3 I think definitely cements Chisato as best girl, and the Chisato supremacy it explains itself. But that moment when the goons in the background are like, ooh, she's hugging her, why is she hugging her? She's a tainted problem child. Basically the impression that whole scene gave me. But when she just immediately, when she notices people talking shit, like picks her up like she's her wife, and I'm surprised she didn't pull an engagement ring on the spot just to rub it in their wounds, being like, I don't give a shit what you think, because 1, I'm the best in the business, and 2, this girl right here, my new BFF, deal with it. And the fact that it didn't end there, the fact that she went in and kicked some ass, and then that punch when Takina came in, because she could have shot her from behind. Instead, no, she punched her in the face, and I love seeing how the whole problem about she shot and didn't value her teammate's life, right? Like, she could have, in the first episode when we saw her bring out the giant LMG, not only killed the dealer, but almost harmed someone that she's working with, right? So in return, that got her dismissed. Of course, we now know a bit more about how there was radio interference, and apparently that's literally impossible, so she was just the scapegoat because people didn't like her enough, and it was a good way to cover it up. But ultimately, the fact that in the moment of the finishing battle there, she literally shoots and trusts that Chisato will move. And that's just like the most, I think, painful slap to the face, even more so than the punch she just previously got, because the whole idea is that this organization is saying she can't be worked with, she's not a team player, and everything she did was horrible. And then in return, we witnessed this teamwork between Chisato as well as Takina, and no one on the ally side was shot. And ultimately, it basically just says, 1, she's not as much of a problem child as you made her out to be, and 2, you're just not as skillful as Chisato. The ultimate slap to the face, and even though only one side of her face got swollen, it feels like her entire heart just shattered from that defeat. And, I mean, they did a great job of making me hate these characters. It gave me a very smug organization feel, that it's a very preppy elite school almost, and just the fact that everyone's talking so much mad shit, and a girl who just wants to belong. Of course, we naturally know the cafe is a much better and much more healthy environment, and I wouldn't be shocked in the slightest if that is the ending, that she chooses to stay there over this bitchy school preppy environment thing that's going on. But ultimately, I love the fact that because that's all they ever known, like, especially with orphans and things like that, like, this is the place to be. And the fact that she's just thrown away, it just feels like, you know, you're born into a family, and that family doesn't want you, so then the adoptive family is trying to teach that person that blood isn't all that matters. You know, family's what you make it. And of course, there's no blood there, but you kind of get the analogy I'm kind of making there. And that's what I liked about this episode. I wasn't expecting anything too crazy. I feel like often with shows like these, when you get into its 3rd and 4th episode, they tend to slow it down. They tend to make it a bit more characterization, set up the plot, where do we want to go. And I wasn't expecting any sort of fight scene. I wasn't expecting anything too drama heavy either. But to really see that Chisato just refuses to let Takina be pulled down. She's doing her best to get her back where she wants, and she gets pissed off when people are calling her just the issue and, you know, calling out the bullshit like radio interference. How in the hell would there be radio interference? That's literally an excuse, you piece of shit. And I think what makes it so great is she's not just like a big mouth with nothing to back it up. She literally is the most skilled out of all of them. Like, they literally refer to her as a manga character, or she's magic, because who in the actual hell can dodge bullets the way she can? We were talking about it last week in the comments there, a lot of people bringing it up. We are starting to suspect like she's got some weird either experimentation going on with her physical body, or she's a goddamn superhero, because how the hell does she predict where everything is? And they kind of touch upon it in this episode. They talk about how like she is so skilled at reading bullets, and that very well could be the explanation they're going with. This isn't reality. This isn't something based in our real world. Things can be different. So there could just be a naturally skilled super soldier who didn't get serum injected or didn't get experimented on, who can dodge bullets because of prediction time, because she's just that intelligent in that way. But I'm still holding on to the suspicion that there's more than meets the eye with that, and I wouldn't be shocked if there was some form of experimentation. I doubt it's going to be full-on superpowers, but I wouldn't be shocked if there's some deeper conspiracies kind of that are going to be explored as we go deeper into this show. But I mean, this is now 3 episodes into this run, and I truly feel like this is probably one of the best hidden gems that this year has shown us today, which is honestly saying a lot, because I think this year of anime in general has been great, and a lot of shows people were sleeping on initially and ended up blowing up. I mean, you can look at the previous season with your boy Conming. I mean, that was an amazing show, and to me, this is kind of like this season's Conving. I mean, two very different shows, but just shows people weren't really paying as much attention to as I feel like they're now starting to. And I think what makes it so great is that it does have killer action scenes. I think it has interesting drama with the kind of like central character who is a very big isolated loner who doesn't play by the rules, and now this very bubbly person who's not even just bubbly for the sake of it, but more so she always finds the bright side of anything. And I really feel like over the past two episodes, we've gotten this very slight hint but noticeable change in Takina's character. You can look at the start of the episode to the end of the episode. It's not a big moment, but I think they're worth pointing out. She offers her candy. She refuses it. She argues it's bad for the fitness training and all that other stuff, but ultimately it's just like, I'm not you, I'm not bubbly happy. And then after seeing how she stood up for her, immediately took the candy without hesitation and then wanted to go to the board game night with her new family. I think that's what this show's doing a great job, is making the characters the heart and soul. And when we get into those crazy action scenes, it feels like interesting gunplay that doesn't feel like really any anime over the past couple of years that have had gun-oriented combat, or at the very least not as gun-oriented as this show is making it out to be. I'm still really interested to see where the cliffhanger of last week's going to go with the person seemingly responsible with hiring that hitman, and, you know, the whole idea that he's a visitor of their cafe, has suspicions about what's going on there. But I mean, the show definitely knows how to be visually pleasing with its action scenes or its standard mundane scenes. The little fountain scene when she was spinning her around and just having that emotional conversation was absolutely breathtaking. And of course, they also give you that kind of eye candy when they're changing. Of course, they made their undergarments a little as short as possible, so if you wanted that visual flair, you know you got it. But ultimately, it's a show that wears its heart on its sleeve. I think Chisato and Takina's relationship is absolutely fantastic. Had this just been a show with Takina as the lead, it wouldn't be nearly as enjoyable, but I like seeing her kind of like broken mentality and opening it up and, you know, showing those happy emotions more and more. Takina is a fantastic character, but she's aided by Chisato's bubbly, badass, adorable best girl energy that just them together on screen creates a very unique character pairing that, I mean, it's hard not to say, how do you not ship those two at this point? I mean, goddamn, we're literally just a moment away from a ring drop, and when she was spinning her around, it felt like. And I feel like even though she would, like, literally ask for her hand in marriage just as a joke, but more so to rub salt into the wounds of the people saying, ew, you shouldn't touch her, at the same time, I feel like she'd be willing to commit to it as long as it meant that Takina would be protected, because she's just that much of a badass. But I've never wanted to see characters punched or shot more than this episode delivered, and I'm glad that they did so. And I'm also glad that the person seemingly kind of being, like, presented as the victim, you know, the one that almost got killed by Takina, she's, like, having none of it. She doesn't like the way she's being treated. She doesn't like the fact that she's being used as the scapegoat, as, oh, I almost died. Like, bitch, she doesn't even care about that. She feels bad that, yeah, maybe mistakes were made, but you guys are treating someone completely unfairly, and therefore you'll probably treat me unfairly if you ever get the moment to do so. So that's why I'm glad they all started cheering when they won, because there's a lot of bitches in that place, and I'm glad that the bitches got punched, to say the least. But thoughts down below, what do you think of the show? We're now 3 episodes in. I truly think it's one of this season's best, a big hidden gem of this year, but thoughts down below, let me know what you're thinking, and be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. Till next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.